Welcome back, Growth Nation. Dave Rogemoser here, and this is Scale or Die, the show where we uncover proven growth strategies behind some of the world's fastest growing startups. Today I've got the CEO of Wistia, who is someone that I deeply respect, have watched from afar, not just for building a great company, but for how they've built it. It seems like, from my perspective, they have built it on their own terms, in their own way, with a very unique position in the market, and it's been really, really fun to watch. And so, Chris, welcome to the show. I'm excited to learn a lot more here.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, so I guess before we kind of get kicked off, I'd love to just hear from you. How do you describe Wistia? How long have you guys been around? And then kind of where's the company at today?
Yeah, I describe Wistia as a company that's trying to help businesses use video better. And we do that in a bunch of different ways. Like we have multiple products, Wistia being the core product, which is management and analytics for your videos. So you can market better with video, understand how videos perform on your site, control the experience of the player, analytics to see what people are watching. Soapbox, our second product that we launched about a year and a half ago, which is a Chrome extension that lets you record your webcam and your screen simultaneously and make videos pretty quickly that we think look pretty professional. And then actually the way that most people know us is, or the reason that most people know us is for the content that we make. And so we've made a lot of content over the years trying to teach people how to get confident using video. I think video can be so scary from a brand perspective. And one of the things people will say is like, well, if we make a video, what if this could be really good, but what if it hurts us? It's like, yes, that's a good question to ask. Like a video that looks really crappy can expose, I think, sometimes the worst parts of the story you're trying to tell. And the opposite is also true. Like when done properly, if it's really authentic or really engaging or interesting or shows a unique behind the scenes look at what you're doing, it can create a connection that is just so much stronger than almost anything else.
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for about 5 years now, and I have built exclusively through Wistia content some extremely ghetto studios, but that turn out actually really good looking video. Maybe we can put some of those pictures below this feed here. But yeah, you kind of help the DIYers like myself. I'd never consider myself a videographer, know anything about that. I kind of watch the videos, and that's how I got introduced to the product. And I think for me, like Wistia is a product that you don't know you need until you get it as a business. And like, I think I saw it and I was like, YouTube does this. And then you get Wistia and you're like, holy crap, like YouTube doesn't do anything I need. It doesn't give me all the tools and the analytics and all that stuff. And so I think once as a business you try Wistia, like you don't want to go back to YouTube for hosting your videos anymore.
That's the hope and the realization for us is that the business model of the products you use matters, right? And so in our case, YouTube's business model is to serve ads on things, and they are trying to compete with what was cable television, and it's a smart move. It's a huge market. It's an enormous, enormous market, and so all those little decisions they make are around keeping people watching more content inside their apps. And I feel like personally, I use YouTube more on my Apple TV than I ever used to, and it makes sense that like, how am I going to get to a website from my Apple TV? I'm not. I'm just going to go see more content and more videos. Yeah. And so a lot of all these little changes that even YouTube's made some change in the last like couple months, where you can no longer turn off suggested videos at the end of your video when it's embedded. And so it just comes back to like, what is the goal? Like if you have videos on your site, usually the goal is like trying to get those people to convert and sign up for something, maintain the attention that you've earned. And if you have stuff that's on YouTube, that's usually does a lot better for companies when it's brand focused. And you're okay with the fact that you're not going to be able to track the people who went from YouTube to your site. So it's just, you have to treat it like a social network. And when treated properly like a social network, it can be incredible. But that is there's fundamental differences in business models end up actually making a huge difference over time in terms of what you're going to get from a product.
And then with Wistia, then do you guys think of that as like, this is a SaaS business? This is not some social network or distribution. It's like we build the tool for you to have powerful control over your videos.
Yeah, and like we only do well if our customers are doing well. Very simple. Like if you're using Wistia and you're adding videos to your website and they're not performing and helping you, you'll just cancel your account. So that's it. It's just
Yep.
very simple. Like, and if it's working for our customers, they're going to stick with us. And so every incentive we have is to build tools and features that are going to help you be more successful. Like an example of this is a small thing we launched the end of last year, which is the ability to create video thumbnails and add text in your thumbnails. Very simple thing. But we had done a lot of testing ourselves. We worked with some customers that had done a lot of testing and seen that like the right video thumbnail and the right text on a thumbnail, simple things, can make a pretty big impact in terms of the number of people who click play and the number of people who convert. So we made this change, and so far we've seen everyone who's adopted is getting, you know, better conversions. And if that happens, then people will stick with us. But if we're not continuing to innovate in that way, then our customers will leave. So it's just a very simple thing. We're a SaaS business trying to help people grow their businesses.
Love it. And you started in 2008, and you've got about 95-ish employees right now. Is that right?
Yeah, we started 2006 actually,
Okay.
but spent a year with other things, trying to do other things. And yeah, we have about 100 employees.
Okay. Very, very cool. And do you share how many customers you have?
We don't share the exact amount. You know, we obfuscate it obviously, but I can tell you that we're about pretty close to 1 million accounts at this point
Sweet.
that are using us. And the customers are in the many tens of thousands.
Sweet. Very cool. Yeah, I love it. It's been cool to watch the journey. So before we talk about, I want to talk about marketing and growth, but I think something that I've seen you guys talk about that I want to learn about is your co-founder relationships. You and Brendan have been doing this for the whole time. I guess 15 years now.
12 and a half years,
Yeah. So doing it for a long time here, and you're close still, you're best friends, you say. What has that been like, and like what advice do you have for other people around how to have a healthy co-founder relationship? I think it's something a lot of people wonder about and ask about, and I've got 2 co-founders myself, and so I'm always trying to learn there.
Yeah. When we started the company, we had known each other for 5 years already. And so we went to college together and lived in the same freshman hall. And then had been the same close group of friends and had lived together in different suites in school. And we knew that we were good friends, and we knew going into it that a lot of people lose their friendships in starting a company. And so we just were really upfront about it. We're like, look, we think we have a great friendship. It sounds crazy, but like the thing that's motivating us is not just money. And so let's put our friendship in front of the business. And that has been tested, and it's usually tested when there are decisions that are really hard to make. And I think the classic example people give is like 2 co-founders want some different strategic direction. They can't make a call, so you have to figure out like how will you make that decision structure work. And I think that's often where like friendships start to fray. And at least for us, we were living in the same house for the first 4 years that we were building the company. And so it was kind of a situation that was like, if we were to let our friendship fray, it would really hurt. Obviously, we thought the company would fail basically if that happened. We felt like we needed each other. And so we just worked really hard when there were tough situations. Like we learned over time that you just get in front of them and you have hard conversations early. It's like a marriage, right? Like a marriage takes work. And it takes open honesty about what both people want and where you're going and what's working and what's not working. And when you feel like one person is pulling too much of the weight or whatever, you just have to talk about stuff. It's like a constant conversation. And so we got pretty good at, Brendan and I got pretty good at talking about what was working and what was not. And the crazy thing is, at this point, is it really is true. Like I hang out with Brendan all the time. Our families get together and hang out all the time. And we've kind of figured it out. And I think it has made Wistia a place where there is a lot of friendships, probably more than average. And again, also like it's interesting because you have people who have worked at Wistia for 4 or 5 years and they're good friends. And someone else comes new, and we had someone we hired recently who said, how am I supposed to navigate this? And I said, I promise you, like everyone has hard conversations with each other about this stuff. Like, is not going to get in the way. You just get in there and like say what you think and pretend they don't exist, and it's completely fine. So it's kind of set this example, like you can be friends with someone as long as you are having hard conversations and willing to confront the issues that come up, which, hopefully it's just one of those things, like you model it and you hope it works, and so far so good.
Love that. And you guys are 50-50 partners. Do you like that? Do you think that's the way to go?
For us, it's definitely the way to go. I think the marriage analogy is the right one, but it's like, you don't go and get married and say like, well, one of you always has like the upper hand.
Legally, like, if push comes to shove, one of you has 1% extra.
Yeah, that's what people will say. In our case, what would happen is like you would have to get other shareholders involved and stuff. But if we have to make a call on something and it's coming down to that, that's such an extreme thing that we probably already destroyed the business by then. Like we've probably just put ourselves into shambles if we're coming down to like trying to rally additional people to help make a call. I will say there's like, we're talking now about, things that are normally kind of more for partnerships. Like, what do you do if one of us wants to leave or one of us dies, like estate planning for the business. And it's interesting talking to lawyers and experts on this stuff, because I've talked to some companies who they didn't have this type of thing set up. They, had an equal partnership and didn't feel like it was equal. And so the business hits a stalemate on a decision, and you literally dissolve the business, which is like one of the things that can happen. I think like this is a lucky set of problems to have, because we found something that is valuable. So it just takes, again, like having hard conversations early, and that is not so bad.
And being real, like what have been like the challenges or the landmines that like you and Brendan have like had to like walk through? Are there like specific topics that are tough, and anything like that you kind of come to regularly or have come to?
I think in the early years, it would feel like lopsided in terms of who was doing work, or who was having the quote biggest impact. It would just flip around. Like in the early days, Brendan's building everything. I'm not building anything. And so it's like, whoa, it seems like if Brendan doesn't do this, we have nothing. Yes, that's correct. And then there were years when it felt like the biggest thing was actually not the product. It was like marketing or sales, and getting initial traction. It was like, well, if Chris goes and gets these customers, then we're going to be good. And if he doesn't get them, we're screwed. And so it flips around. And a lot of that, we just had like really open conversations around it. And we both agreed that we wanted to build a balanced company. Like it was not just going to be, you don't just build a product and then people find it and then that's it. Like you have to figure out how to market. You have to figure out how to sell. You have to figure out how to price it. You have to figure out how to provide great support. You have to do all these different things. And that's how you build a great experience for a customer. It has to be balanced. And so, over time, things between us balanced out more, because we built up this organization around us, and we built up a lot of experience and realized, we can help guide other people through some of these challenges. And we kind of know that we both come to things with like slightly different approaches. And that's good. That we think that helps us make better decisions.
Love it. No, it's been a cool relationship to see, and one that, my co-founders and I, we were chatting on Slack this morning, and we were talking about, the interview with you, and one of them said, you know what, like, I think I'd be really proud if we built a company like Wistia and had a relationship like those guys. So it's been cool to watch, from afar, and inspiring to see people that I think we're trying to build a company where our relationship, we're really tight, we stay friends, we're raising our families together, like we're just like living life together in every way. And it's tough. You don't see a ton of people doing that or thinking about that or even putting that as a priority. Usually it's like, cut the friendship if you need to, let's go make some damn money. And that's not our thinking or our approach.
I think that's great. And I'm glad that our example can hopefully help people even just talk about this stuff, right? Like every relationship is different, but the reality is like, when we started making this company, we did it because we thought we'd be rich. And then very quickly realized, wow, that's not how this works. This is hard. This takes a long time. And at some point it flipped into being about the journey. It's like, wow, we get to we're trying to build these products that are helping other people, and we get to build a culture that hopefully can set a different example for like the type of culture where you can work. And I think I've been fortunate that I know some people who have had a lot of money and they're not happy. And like money doesn't bring you happiness. It's kind of that simple. And so only optimizing for that, you're missing out on everything else. Like life is short. Like I think you gotta respect the people you work with. And for me, I want to work on really creative problems. That's the same exact thing that Brendan wants. And we see Wistia as our opportunity to work on hard problems and to try to come up with creative solutions. And that's basically what building a business is for us. And so we just feel very fortunate that we have that opportunity to do it every day. And we also feel fortunate that like it actually took us some time to get traction. So by the time we're getting traction, we had felt like we'd figured out this piece. And everybody's different. Some people just want like the most revenue, and that's the yardstick they use to compare themselves to other people. That's not the one we use. I'm not saying it's obviously great to have a business that's thriving. Don't get me wrong. Like that's amazing. But it can't be just
Yeah, I think it's so important that people like pick the goal that they're optimizing for, the few goals, and like just like have some conviction in that, you know, not looking at everybody else's business. You know, it's like I feel like you don't even know what's going on in their business or like what they care about or if they're happy or if they even want to be doing this. You know, so it's like I think it's been important for us to develop. Yeah, when we first started, it was like just make some money. And now, you know, we kind of get over a little bit of a hump. We can kind of say, okay, like what do we really want to do here? And I think that's important.
You're hitting a topic that I feel like people don't really, it's like almost like sacrilegious to discuss in like startup land. So there's a lot there, but we can move on.
We'll come back and unpack that in another episode here. I want to dig in, you know, to some of the growth and some of the traction and kind of hear some of the growth story and like what's really worked there. I think you guys have unique marketing, unique branding, unique content. What was the first time that you really felt like you were getting traction? What caused that? What was around that? And like, how did that happen?
That's a great question. There's been lots of little moments. And one of the things I've learned over the years is that usually you can see things qualitatively first and you don't see them quantitatively. It's pretty rare that you like turn on a spigot of something and it's like suddenly you're getting tons of customers and you can track where they're coming from. But there was a moment when it's a few years in, we turned on some brand advertising. I don't really know what brand advertising meant, but it was ads that just said Wistia. And there was like a funny little thing that said share video like a boss. That's all it said. And we put it on this network, this ad network called the Deck Network that existed for a while. And it was only on like 10 blogs. It was like the 37 Signals blog and Daring Fireball and a few other things that there was one ad per page. It was really simple. Very quickly, I saw something, which was people started searching for Wistia more. And the people who were searching for Wistia and coming in, they were signing up and they were trying the product and they were buying, but they weren't clicking on the ad. And a couple of things happened. One, people were signing up for the product. Two, the feedback we were getting was very different. So the product feedback that we started to get in that month from customers was noticeably different. And it was like, these people had no connection to us whatsoever. Most of the people before that, we'd like always gotten an introduction to somebody, with some connection to them. And they weren't really telling us the honest truth with what they thought our product was missing or what they expected from the product. And suddenly this faucet turned on of feedback that really helped us figure out how to build the product. And so we were getting more people try the product and figure out how to build the product. And within, I would say 4 or 6 months of that, we were starting to launch things. Each time we launched a new feature, it felt like it was resonating more. And that was really exciting, but we couldn't scale it. Like there was only one deck network thing. It was like $6,000 a month is what we were spending, which was about how much money we were making. But I looked for things like it. I couldn't find anything like it. It was like a group of early adopters who cared about product and design. And like, there was no other group like that at the time. And we were trying a lot of different things. And we're getting a little frustrated because we couldn't find anything that would scale. But along the way, I think we had 6 people on the team. We decided to update our team page. And before this, we had four people in the company, 1 team page. It had 4 people's names on it. Brennan and I and the 2 other early employees we had, and everyone's title looked like a big title. Like it was like VP of marketing and VP of sales, executive vice president and head of operations, just shit to make you look like you're a big company. And it said management, and it implied that they're employees who are not reporting up to the other side.
Yes.
We're trying to be professional and look like a quote, big company. In hindsight, obviously, if you went to it, I don't think we looked like we were a big company. But we did the things we thought we were trying to fake it till you make it, basically. And we'd hired 2 more people, and we're feeling really bad that they weren't on the website. Like we're feeling pretty crappy about that. And we decided no one's going to our website really, not that many people. We should probably update that team page so they can be on there. So at the very least, they can show their parents, like, hey, mom and dad, I'm working at a company. It's real. Look, see, I'm on the website. And so we updated the team page to a picture of the 6 of us standing in front of a whiteboard because that seemed, quote, businessy. And Brendan realized when he was building the page that he could just make it switch between 2 of the photos and it would look like we're dancing. Just dumb dancing, just super, super silly, just like slight movement. And he did that, and he made an Easter egg basically for us, which is if you typed dance on the website, when you got to that page, it would start randomly switching between the photos, and it would play girl talk music. And he did this because this guy, Jeff, on our team, it was his birthday the day that this went up there. So it's like his birthday present to Jeff. So put it on there, and we shared this on Twitter. I probably had 100 people following me at this time, or less, and they were all my friends. And normally put something on Twitter, nothing happens. And this time, we shared this thing, and it went viral. And it got submitted to Hacker News, and it got to the front page of Hacker News. And so suddenly we're getting a ton of traffic to the website, the first time we've ever gotten a ton of traffic, all come to this team page. And then we had a 2-week trial in those days, and 2 weeks later, a ton of new customers. You know, I've been doing content marketing at this point, but it was all like 8 reasons you should use professional video hosting and like stuff like that. And that was obviously doing nothing. Like that was just doing less than nothing. And then this team page, which had nothing to do with explaining our product, actually got people to discover the product. And then we had the same exact thing happen with like a behind the scenes video that we made basically just for fun, put it up there, literally put it on our about page, shared it on Twitter. It went viral. It went on the front page of Hacker News. We got a ton of traffic again. 2 weeks later, we got a bunch of customers. And this realization started to click like, oh, people aren't seeing behind the scenes of companies. We've gone from trying to fake it till we make it to being authentic about how big we are and what we're doing. And we're also talking about things that really don't have that much to do with our product, and yet it's working. And it was this kind of like the first inklings of brand and like what a brand is. And that combined with the advertising we had done gave us more confidence of like, hey, what if we were like teaching people about things in videos and in blog posts that really had nothing to do with our product, but we did it authentically. Probably if some of this stuff could take off, we would get customers coming in. It just might not be easy to see. Like we now had like 3 different things showing us that evidence, and that's what we started to do. And you know, the qualitative thing was like I would go to conferences and people would know who I was, even though we were having like 300 views on a video. People were seeing stuff. And I remember the first time I went to a conference and someone came up to me and gave me a hug and they're like, thank you so much for helping us figure out how to like light our conference room. It's totally changed everything. People were showing up with gear that we talked about. And then it grew and grew and grew. And, you know, looking back, you can look back on it years later, and that's the moment that like our brand traffic started to go up, our direct traffic started to go up, our organic traffic started to go up. But in those months, you can't even see it. You know, like for the next like 3 to 6 months, there was an incredibly small increase. But the trajectory change occurred. And it's continued, right? Like that's the same stuff that we do now. Like we did 110-100 last year, which is a 4-part documentary series about where we followed Sandwich Video in LA, who we gave them a budget to make 3 different ads for Soapbox, one $1,000, one $10,000, one $100,000. It's the same continuation. It's just going bigger on the same stuff.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about that because I think this theme I've seen from you guys, and I didn't know about kind of how it started with that page, is like you take these marketing risks. Like each year there's a few like creative risks that you stop and you think, that's unique. I want to see what this is. Like it's not just like direct response. I'm just going to drive ads to a landing page, et cetera. Harder to track, harder to kind of know, hey, what's the ROI of this? But it seems like you guys are really, really comfortable with that. And then thought it was really cool when you kind of released this campaign where you spend, it was $111,000 on 3 different videos. Video was $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. Tell me about like, how did that come up? What was that like? What were maybe the results of that? Because I thought that was a really fascinating example.
Well, so you're right. Like each year we try to take some bigger creative risks and we're trying to make the risks bigger and bigger. And I will say one aside on that, which is like we're profitable and we also have not been profitable. And we learned the lesson that we couldn't really take those risks when we weren't profitable. For us, with our approach and our strategy, the way for us to grow, we kind of need to be profitable because that lets us do long-term things where you launch something and it's like many people have asked me at 1-100, how do you know if it's working? What are the results you're looking for? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I knew it was a good idea. And I had no idea how we would know if it was working, to be totally transparent. But because we were profitable, we don't need it to like give us more sales this month or next month. And that's trying to change the brand perception and help people have a connection to us for the long term. And it's the same exact idea. But the way it came up was we've known the folks at Sandwich Video for a while. And Sandwich Video, if you don't know, they made the launch video for Slack. They made the launch video for Square. They made the launch video for Warby Parker. They're incredibly good at making really commercials for products, betting on those products, explaining them really simply, making them funny, and just really compelling. And so we'd always aspired to work with Sandwich. I had tried to hire them like 5 years ago, and the budget at the time for an ad was 17 grand. I can't spend this. This is just lunacy. I can't spend this on one video. But we had them come to our conference, and on stage, I tried to convince the founder of Sandwich Video to honor that price. And he's like, well, I won't honor that price, but I'll make you a video for free if you let me do it in my backyard, which is how he made his first like commercial video. And I honestly didn't hear the backyard part. I just like, my brain just like didn't hear it. So I just called him. I'm like, you want to make it for free? You want to make it for free? Make a free video, like, and we'll like make content about it. And he's like, that's not exactly what I said. That's not exactly what I said. But we could do something together, and it sparked this idea of giving them the budget of 111,000 and having them make 3 different ads for Soapbox with different budgets, as if it was like an internal team making the videos. It's like not what you would charge someone for these videos, but if you had $1,000 worth of gear and people budget, what would you do? If you had $10,000 worth of gear and people budget, what would you do? And 100,000. We thought the creative team will probably learn a lot from them. We thought that the Soapbox ads could work, and if they worked, we'd get a benefit from helping Soapbox. We thought the behind the scenes, we thought that both other things could fail, but the behind the scenes could be compelling because we didn't have a lot of content about how the creative process works. And we also thought that there might be, even if it all totally failed, we could still write content about how it all totally failed. And then maybe that content would do well. So there was like 4 or 5 different things that we thought could be beneficial from it. And that's kind of how we decided to go ahead and say yes to it. And then the team went and shot the first week's shoot, where they shot the $1,000 video and the $10,000 video, and they came back and they're like, Chris, this is not a blog post. This is not like a 10-minute guide. Like, this is a bigger thing. This is a lot. This is more like a real documentary. And for us to do justice to it, we have to do it like that. And we're like, okay, let's go. And so they went back again. They went back a few times. And we ended up with something that's 4 parts. It's like an hour and 42 minutes long. And really feels like something you could watch on Netflix. It's on Amazon Prime now. And yeah, it's been crazy how well it's done, actually.
By the way, Austin, our head of marketing over here, is just nodding his head saying, I love this thing. As you were talking about, you can watch this thing on Netflix. So he's into it.
It's crazy.
I watched it on Amazon Prime.
He watched it on Amazon Prime.
That's awesome. And like, it's even I didn't even realize just the concept of the ads would do so well. Like, we put the 3 ads on Twitter and we said, before anything else was said, we made this ad for, this is what $1,000 version looks like. This is what a $10,000 version looks like. This is what a $100,000 version looks like. And then those went viral. And so day one, a month before we released the trailer for the documentary, the ads were getting a ton of people talking, and people were spending 6 minutes learning about Soapbox. So it was kind of a remarkable thing. I would say in terms of how it's done really well, like better than we ever could have imagined. And one of the things that's really interesting is just the amount of time that people spent with the brand. Because if you watch it, you're spending so many hours with the brand. It's just so rare to do that, that's had a huge halo. And so, grand scheme of things, it's not, it has not hit 100,000 views, but it's as if it's millions and millions and millions of views of like a normal 1-minute video. I think, and the trailer has been seen millions of times, like 6 million times or something, which is just ludicrous.
Last question on this. In my mind, these things seem fairly risky, right? Like, I would assume if you did 10 of these, you might look back and 8 of them kind of flopped and 2 went really well. But because no one's doing it, I don't even know if that's the case. Like, in your experience, these creative risks, how well do they typically go? And are they as big a risk as somebody that maybe thinks more direct response, really would think?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I would guess for us, because most people are not taking these types of risks yet, if you can find a way to take a risk that no one else is taking, usually the likelihood of success goes up a lot. Like, I don't think it's like 10% success. I think it could be more like 80%.
Yeah.
If you can find the right angle and the right thing that no one else is doing. And it's for us, it's that same thing of, we're willing to invest in brand and we're willing to invest in long term. And everything about Wistia is set up for that. I mean, we did our buyback where we raised debt to buy out our investors. And part of that was like really setting us up to build this company for the long term and to be able to take the long-term risks, and so it feels scary to me if we're not doing that stuff.
Yep.
We A/B test things on the site and we tweak life cycle email flows, and we do all the things that you should do if you have a bunch of traffic. But a lot of that stuff, you're just constantly locally optimizing. And the big creative risks for us are the things that are the global optimizations. They're the things that can help you really take a huge step forward. And I mentioned this earlier, but one of the things we're also comfortable with is if we have a massive failure, we will still talk about it. And if you're willing to talk about a massive failure, it, for me, reduces a lot of the risk because people like learning about massive failures. So,
have you ever had a failure that's actually gone better than the success just because it failed?
I mean, I think you could make the argument that we twisted the story of us like over-investing in growth and running at a loss that was a pretty massive failure in terms of like wasted resources. I mean, you could kind of say it's like burning like $6 million or something, just like lighting a flame and leaving it. And I think that telling that story and doing the buyback has been massively huge for us. And so that doesn't read like a failure, but there were definitely some moments where it felt like a failure.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like your willingness to be open and share with others, and in marketing in particular, usually does pretty well.
Very cool. All right, well, we've got to wrap up here. And so to wrap up, I've got what I call the Salty Six. 6 rapid fire questions to just get to know you a little bit more. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, Salty Six, number 1, outside of work, what do you do for fun?
I have 2 kids, so I hang out with them a lot. I like to rock climb a lot. Indoors, mostly, to protect my life, but sometimes outdoors.
Love it. All right, what do you do for a morning routine, if anything?
My morning routine is get up with my daughters at like 6:30, make breakfast, hang out, read books, take my older one to school, hop to the gym, come back to my house, and then head in. So I'm usually in the office like 9:30 or 10. If I don't work out, I lose my mind. And if I work out, I'm a calmer, happier person. It's like one of those things you realize, like, if you can't make time to do that, then you're not delegating properly or
Yeah.
you're not working on the right problems. Yeah, and I've learned over the years that, as is my wife, that if I have not worked out, she's like, you should probably go to the gym. I'm like, uh-huh.
That's awesome. Okay, as CEO, you've got a lot of stuff coming at you during the day. How do you focus and dial it in?
I have amazing people that I work with. I mean, I think, I used to wonder a lot about productivity and really believe in productivity. And there's certain productivity tools that I love, like Superhuman, fantastic tool. But I got some really good advice once from Ben Chestnut, who's the CEO of MailChimp. And I was like, what do you do? How do you manage your schedule? Like, what? Tell me about everything. He's like, it's not a schedule problem, man. It's a people problem. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, well, it sounds like you're not delegating enough to those around you, or you don't have the people you can delegate to. And that is what stops people from getting the time to think. And that is what stops people from working on the right stuff. And it was like, hit me like a ton of bricks, because I realized there was a lot of things I thought I needed to be in the thick of that actually I did not. And at this point, it's like, we have an incredible chief of staff, an incredible senior management team, great GMs, great product managers. Like, the team is just really strong. And I've learned that, like, the way for me to get time to think is to really give the ownership of the problems to the people around me.
Yep.
And if you don't think you can give the ownership of a problem to somebody, then they're probably not the right person.
Love it. What's a book that has deeply impacted you over the last couple of years?
There's been a lot of books at different moments that have been really important. I just reread The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni, which is a great book on teamwork. And The Five Dysfunctions of the Team is another one. One of my favorites, though, is this book, Masters of Doom. And it's about, have you read it?
No.
It's about the founders of Doom, who then went on to create Quake and all this stuff. And it's incredible rocket ship of a business. And a lot of it is about like this like co-founder relationship and a small group of people working together really well, and like the impact that they can have. And then when it doesn't work well. And I'm always fascinated by people who recognize like their strengths and superpowers and can figure out how to get the most out of them.
Love it. Number 5, what's the best purchase you've made recently under 150 bucks?
The thing that pops to my mind is ridiculous, which is I just got this thing called the Aware, which lets you measure the air quality in your home. And I know that sounds absolutely absurd. Like, why would you get that? But I went to California over Thanksgiving when
Fires.
the air quality was horrific, and I lost my voice for like 5 weeks because of that. And it shook me up. It was very bizarre. Like, I had no voice. And in that moment, I started, the advice there was like, don't go outside. But then I was reading all this stuff about how actually like air quality inside is often very terrible. And so I got this thing, and it is remarkable to see that like when you're cooking dinner and the stove is on, like you can get this particulate matter in the air and you get all these like chemicals and shit, and you can start to feel lethargic. And my wife and I have been talking about this, that like, feeling so dead tired at the end of the day. It's like, oh, actually, if you open the windows, even in the winter, when right after you've cooked or as you're cooking, like you don't feel that way, at least in our case, because like the wrong stuff is in the air. So that's been really interesting. We've got an air purifier and all that stuff now. So
I'm gonna go buy that thing right after this. That sounds cool.
Yeah, get aware, AWAIR.com.
Okay.
It's a beautiful little device, really lovely.
Very cool. Love it. Okay, and last question. What trait or characteristic do you have that you think has led to the success that you have today?
I am an optimist and have always been. And I think I'm pretty good at getting people excited about new opportunities. And over the years, when I think about all the hard moments when you want to quit, it's often like my default setting that puts me back to that I think can help myself and the people around me get excited about what's next and get excited about challenges. So probably that.
Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I learned a ton about the brand marketing, your co-founder relationship. I found my new little gadget I'm going to buy in Aware. And yeah, man, if people want to learn more about what you're doing, kind of see some of this behind the scenes stuff, what's the best place for them to find you and find that?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at csavage. I write about the behind the scenes of Wistia probably about once a month at savagethoughts.com. And of course, you can check out Wistia, and that's where 110-100 is and all the other stuff we talked about.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. Thank you for watching. Look forward to our next episode. Find it on YouTube, find it on the podcast app, wherever you listen to your shows. We'll see you guys in the next one.